A cross-party group of British MPs have written to the pro-Israeli Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, asking him to urgently expel the sick and evil Israeli ambassador to the UK and take other urgent steps to stop the ongoing Holocaust in Gaza. The letter was shared by Blackburn MP Adnan Hussain on social media. The letter has been signed by as many as 20 MPs cutting across party lines. They include every single member of the Parliamentary Independent Alliance led by Jeremy Corbyn, MPs from the Green Party and the Scottish National Party, Dan Abbott, who is the Mother of the House in British Parliament, and Labour MP Abtisam Mohammed, who sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee, which scrutinises foreign policy, among others. In the letter to Keir Starmer, these MPs demanded immediate expulsion of Tzipi Hotovely from the UK, imposing a complete arms embargo on Israel and declaring sanctions on Israel and key members of its government. The signatories of this letter reminded Starmer, himself a human rights lawyer, that Britain was a signatory to the Genocide Convention and therefore it has a clear and binding legal obligation to prevent genocide wherever it occurs. You can read the full content of this two-page letter on our Telegram channel. Details are on the screen. This letter comes amidst the complete impunity with which the bloodthirsty terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, has gone ahead with his genocidal campaign in Gaza. This mentally deranged man, who should have been languishing in jail for the rest of his life, has even announced the complete occupation of Gaza. And yet the so-called civilized Western countries, including the UK, have chosen to remain bystanders. Israelis have murdered close to 1,500 starving Palestinians in Gaza since May this year, after they were lured with food by Israeli terrorists and their American partners from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Close to 250 Palestinians, mostly children and babies, have also been killed by the forced starvation in recent days. This is what the signatories of the letter seek to draw Starmer's attention to by urging him to take a lead role in inundating the supply of aid materials into Gaza without any hindrance from Israeli terrorists. As for the sick woman from Israel currently working in the UK as a settler colonies ambassador, the demand for her expulsion has gained momentum in the recent months. Close to 200,000 people have already signed an online petition demanding that this sick and evil woman be kicked out from the UK. The list of her crimes is endless. By enjoying her stay in the UK, she had the audacity to deny Nakba, the forced displacement of millions of Palestinians from their homeland, now called Israel, in 1948. This is like someone denying the Holocaust. That's how disgusting this woman has been.
And I think the importance of bringing this story up is also to fight a very, very strong and very popular Arab lie. And the Arab lie is the Nakba.
The support of this depraved woman by severely compromised British politicians cutting across ideological lines has emboldened her to repeat her sick utterances time and again. Even when Israeli terrorists murdered tens of thousands of Palestinian children and babies using American bombs and enjoying the support of the wider West, this evil woman was celebrating their massacre by using Israeli lies on British TV, claiming that every single mosque, school, house and church in Gaza had Hamas hideouts underneath. This was to justify their destruction using weapons from the West.
Those areas must be destroyed. And one of the things we exposed to the world after getting into the areas in Gaza, that we try to find all those tunnels and the underground metro city that Hamas has built, thanks to this great support of Iran, Qatar, the international community generosity, everything turned to be this horrible terror city. One of the things we realized that every school, every mosque, every second house has and access to tunnel. So this is, and of course ammunition.
But that's an argument for destroying the whole of Gaza, every single building in it.
So do you have another solution how to destroy the underground tunnel city, that this is the place where the terrorists hide, where they have all their ammunition, and this is the rockets that are still fired on Israeli cities?
She has been meddling with the domestic politics of the UK for so long, so successfully, that a number of ministers from the current government who have proudly posed for the camera with her at every given opportunity. This was Starmer himself just before he became the Prime Minister. And this was Starmer's minion, David Lammy, on 2 different occasions. He simply can't resist the temptation of sharing space with this sick woman. This is Lisa Nandy, who had gone hysterical after Bob Dylan made Death to the IDF chants at this year's Glastonbury Festival. She was so outraged that she made an emergency address in the Parliament.
Let me turn now to the role of the BBC. On Saturday afternoon, just after the broadcast, I called the Director General to ask for an explanation and what immediate steps the BBC leadership intended to take. As the Prime Minister said yesterday, it is essential that the BBC explains how these scenes came to be broadcast. The BBC has rightly apologised and took the immediate decision not to put this content on iPlayer. I welcome that. However, key outstanding questions remain, including why this performance was broadcast live, given the concerns regarding other acts in the weeks preceding the festival, why the feed wasn't immediately cut when the chants of death to the IDF began, and what due diligence was done prior to the decision to broadcast this particular act to the nation. I expect answers to these questions without delay. I have made that view clear to the BBC leadership, and I will, of course, update the House as soon as I can.
And days later, she kept her pressure on the BBC by talking about this issue on TV channels. Why? Because she happens to be the Minister for Culture, Sport and Media. A very, very powerful role in the current government.
My job is to make sure that we uphold the highest standards and that the public and Parliament can have confidence in the BBC. I think given the recent events, that has been called into question, but the BBC in recent weeks has made big strides to try to reset that relationship with the public and show that they have grip on the very, very serious issues that have taken place, whether it's the Gaza documentary, whether it's the Greg Wallace allegations, or whether it's the ongoing concerns about Glastonbury. I've had several meetings with them. I believe that they are acting now at pace to put in place measures to make sure that this cannot happen again, and I'm pleased that there has been an acknowledgement about what a catastrophic failure this has been.
Clearly, she was more upset about a chant at a music festival than the murder of tens of thousands of children and babies and forced starvation of millions of people by her friends in Israel. According to Declassified UK, which by the way has been doing a stupendous job in exposing the UK government's Gaza complicity, Lisa Nandy even met this evil woman called Tzipi Hotovely in July. Hotovely reportedly congratulated Nandy for her utterances and action against the BBC in pushing the Israeli genocidal agenda. And this was Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, proudly posing with this genocidal maniac. Now you understand why the alarming pace, the lightning pace with which she had moved in to bring in the legislation to ban Palestine action. What does it also tell you? It also tells you that the entire cabinet appears to be under the firm grip of this genocidal maniac. No wonder a group of MPs have told Starmer that enough is enough. But I still can't understand why only 20 MPs have chosen to sign this letter and not more. What would it take to shake the collective conscience of the remaining MPs? The ethnic cleansing of Gaza to complete? Do they not realize the change in tide across the country, across all age groups? This was a young teenager shaming the BBC today when the reporter approached him to discuss his A-level exam results. For this brave child, talking about the genocide in Gaza and the BBC's complicity was way more important than discussing an important milestone of his academic career.
So on that note, I just want to say free Palestine and the genocide, and the BBC is complicit.
All right, we're here to talk about A-level results. All right, thank you for your thoughts. We're here to talk about A-level results today. Gaza, a whole different subject. Just tell us...
Do British politicians not realize that these kids would be the first-time voters in the next elections? What are the chances of these boys and girls supporting the genocidal ideology of corrupt political parties in the UK? None. Don't say that you were not warned. That's it for me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.